For more, let's bring in House Intelligence Committee Chair Rick Crawford joining us live here now. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us. I want to get to Iran in just a second, but I actually want to take you back out live to Newark, New Jersey, where we've got this live camera on the scene of some intense protests that are starting to heat up again. Overnight, they got pretty violent. If we can put up the shot on the screen here and take our viewers back out there, dozens and dozens of protesters are out there. We've heard protesters screaming at ICE officers saying they want to kill them. We've now got the Democratic governor out there who has created a peaceful protest zone because things were getting so violent and so heated all week long. Give me your top line take on this as we're watching the situation sort of devolve almost like in a Minneapolis sort of way.
Yeah, I think it's reprehensible. These people have nothing better to do than to attack the folks that are charged with keeping our country safe. And they'd rather come down on the side of criminal immigrants that are here illegally than they would on the side of the American people. So it speaks volumes about what the priorities are for this Democrat governor in New Jersey and the role that she's playing to actually throw kerosene on this fire.
You know, we are 5 months out of the midterm elections, and Democrats are trying to make this an issue again to put on the ballot. They're also trying to make Iran an issue to put that on the ballot. This is Senator Cory Booker just ripping apart this administration and where we are in terms of sort of waiting to see if we're going to get a deal with Iran, a nuclear deal. Listen here.
My worry here is that this Iranian regime, because of this opening, is going to be able to receive billions of dollars in oil money that they're going to use to further their low-cost drones that are still plaguing the area, funding of their proxies that are doing terrorist activities throughout the Middle East and endangering Americans.
You know, he makes this point, and it's a very Democratic talking point, but about a week ago, there were some Hill Republicans as well. They were concerned a little bit that Iran might be gaining at least some diplomatic influence in the region. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I don't think Iran has any allies at all anywhere in the region. And as I've said before, I think if they have any kind of allies, they're probably some bankers in Europe or London or whatever. But to hear Cory Booker say those things, I mean, where was he back in 2015 when this JCPOA was hatched by the Obama administration or whenever it was? I mean, they were all for it. They didn't have the slightest concern about what would happen with the money that the Obama administration was delivering on a pallet to the mullahs. That was perfectly okay. And now they're trying to act like they're concerned. And it just shows how disingenuous they are, because the president, who's trying to actually use a multilateral approach, he's building a coalition in that region to address this issue. And they're attacking him as though he's the problem. No, the Iranians are the problem. They have been for 47 years. And this is the only president in my lifetime, and I'm a big fan of Ronald Reagan, served under Ronald Reagan, but he's the only president who's really had the fortitude to address this in the way that it needs to be addressed.
Well, we're also watching Cuba. Axios just put out this. I want to read this to you, that the Trump administration, the president, is accelerating his squeeze on Cuba. They write the best way to describe it is accelerationism, one senior administration official said, referring to the philosophy of hastening societal collapse. But we don't want to kill off the regime just yet. There's a method to this. It's in stages. Chairman, would you support military intervention in Cuba?
I'm not sure it's necessary. I've been to Cuba many times over the years. In fact, I've probably been to Cuba more than any other Republican member anyway. I mean, I've been an advocate for trying to sell agricultural products, which was my main reason for visiting Cuba as much as I did, because I believe we could overwhelm Cuba with capitalism. Their economy is teetering, has been for decades, and they rely almost exclusively on money sent back to them from Cuban expats in South Florida. And so it would be fairly easy to overwhelm them economically. I don't know that it's necessary to do anything militarily, but we'll see. The point being that we have a long-term familial relationship with Cuba. Goes back decades. And it's almost like a bad breakup. And we're just trying to determine, how we're going to resolve it. But the reality is the Cuban people, I think, are crying out for a regime change, and they have been for quite some time. And I think the president recognizes that and will take the appropriate action, because what we know about Cuba is it is a foothold for Russia and China. They're only 90 miles away from us, and they are there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to keep tabs on the United States.
But what do you think happens to the Castro family?
Well, I think the Castro family is probably going to be addressed through, biology. The reality is Raul Castro is well into his 90s. He can't hold on for very much longer. The family, I don't think, will be
He's got an
nearly as
ambitious son.
well. He may have an ambitious son, but I don't think he has near the wasta, if you will, of his father or his uncle. And then we see there's others, Fidel's progeny, that are not aligned with the communist regime. And so I feel like the conditions are better than they ever have been for this regime to go away and for a new day in Cuba.
Okay, we'll watch it together. Chairman Rick Crawford, thank you very much for joining us on your Saturday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.